So my plans for the next 2 months are to work on my latest fantasy novel, hopefully get it into a first draft.
So I'm assuming you've already well, I don't know, because you're a pantser. So have you actually figured out what you want to write?
Well, I do have 50,000 words in it already. I have a first draft query letter, so I figured it out enough to be able to put that together. I think maybe this novel is ending actually like in the middle of the second novel. I came up with all these ideas to fill out this first novel with more intrigue and interest and cool little details that are like popping up. I've written myself into a more complicated situation than I expected.
Usually how that turns out. Well, then it's going to be a fun 2 months that you're going to have because, you never know what your character is going to do. So
I literally have no idea.
I don't know if I should say this or not. But for my current novel that I'm writing, which I haven't touched in a long while, I have a serial killer. And so, serial killers always have like names that the press give them or they give themselves or something like that. So the main character kind of gives him a name. And it's a moment where she kind of like takes power back because she's like, if I name him something stupid, then that's going to be carried with him for the rest of his life. I ended up like going with ignoramus because it means stupid. But I don't know. Like, I'm not vibing with it. So if you have any ideas, feel free to share.
We can brainstorm on that one. Well, today I'm going with hot chocolate because our 70-degree weather suddenly turned into 30-degree weather. So hot chocolate.
You know what? Actually, same. Okay, so it's the autumn month for us here. And I'm like, chill your guava, it's autumn, okay? Not winter yet. So can you chillax with all the coldness over here? I'm drinking a little coffee. I'm actually liking it because I have a purple mug and you have like a little blue one. Ooh. Cheers. Cheers. There we go. Alrighty. Are we ready to get into this episode?
I've been waiting all season to do this episode, like, honestly.
Wow. Hey ho. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tea and Tales. I'm Madeline Einau.
And I'm Sarah Sampson. Thank you for tuning in. We want to especially thank Zayn Schroeder and Lydia Seither. And again, if I did not pronunciate your name correctly, feel free to correct me. This episode, we decided to talk all about the query process. If you are an indie author, feel free to sit back, take a sip, and think, I don't have to do all of that. But if you are not, if you are like me and Nell, trying to go traditionally published, listen up.
Also, take, like a little glass right next to you so you can catch the tears that you're going to be catching, We've learned a lot for the past 5 years. And so we hope that, what we have learned so far will help you in your journey and will help you not make the mistakes that we've made or suffer the way we have suffered. I mean, it's good to make mistakes because you always learn from them. It's not fun learning from other people's mistakes. You have to do it your own.
We did prepare a lot for this particular episode in this entire season. The reason is because there are things we just cannot explain unless it's by itself. So you will hear us say, refer back to this episode in this particular episode because that's where you can get the deep information on that particular part of the querying process.
Yeah, so we were like building up to it to get to where we are now.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So do you want to start, Sarah, by telling us what is the query process? Because can I just say, as a first-time writer, as a first-time author, when I took Kathy X webinars, I learned I needed a query letter. And I was like, what in the flippity flip-flop is a query letter? And what is this query process? And what am I supposed to be doing? Because I was just like, no, I write a book, I publish it, hey ho, Bob's your uncle. Apparently,
I knew that I had to query and I had done research on querying, but I did not fully understand what a query letter was, like the purpose of a query letter or why I needed to do it. So basically, a query letter is what you send to an agent or a publisher, if you are querying a publisher directly, to tell them about your book. Now, that seems very, very simple, but there's a lot of nuance to doing a query letter and doing it well. Once you have a query letter, you then have to also know who you're sending it to. So there's a lot of nuance in researching who to send it to, when to send it to them, how to send it. I've sent so many query letters on the multiple projects I've done. And I still, every now and then, will find something and go, how do I handle this situation? Because the particular agent has something that I'd never seen before. And so you have to be able to be flexible and network really well to get information from other people, to be able to pull together a good query letter, send it out to them, and hopefully you get good responses. So how do you respond to said query letter? We're going to cover all of that.
That sounds like a lot, and I feel like I need a pen and paper right next to me. So, if you're not listening to this in the car, go grab yourself a pen and paper.
If you are listening in the car, get one when you get home.
Yes, 1000%. One thing that you talked about was researching and getting yourself an agent, because you have to know who you want to send your query letter to. And we have talked about agents multiple times, and we shall keep on talking about them because they are so awesome, and because for traditional writers, we want them. And if you want to learn more about just how to research agents, to query them, go listen to episode 8 of season 2 with the lovely Jessica Faust.
Now, after you've listened to that episode and you understand about what agents are looking for, what sort of things to look for in the agent that you want, I encourage you to put a list down of the agents that you research who match you. And you want at least 50. You want to know which ones you match with the best personality-wise, which ones you think would be best for your book, because it's important to know which ones you want to query later. But as you're building that list, I want you to think that way. Which ones I want to query first are the ones that are not my dream agent, because I want to be able to test my query letter. I want to be able to see if my pages are working first before I burn a bridge with the perfect agent.
Exactly. And I think we both have learned that once you have that lovely, perfect query letter that you have given to people to read, and you have butchered and not butchered and put in all the things that you need to put in, then a majority of agents do not just ask for query letters. So they would ask for query letters and your first 5 pages, or query letters and your synopsis and your first 50 pages. Like, each agency is different, each agent is different. But send out your first 10 query letters. And then once you've done that, go do something else. Because agents might take a while to respond to you, anything from 2 weeks to 6 months. It really just depends. And so when you do send it out, whether you receive no response, which is a pass, or whether you receive a pass or a full request or whatever, that will give you an idea of whether you should pursue with the specific query letter that you have, and whether you should reach out to that dream agent that you want, or whether you should tinker your query letter, or whether you should rework your first 5 pages so that you are able to have the pages that they want and have the query letter that draws the right attention.
You definitely want to find out if those things are working. For example, I have a manuscript I'm reworking right now because the query letter was working wonderfully and agents were sending me requests for pages, and that was fantastic. But then they dropped me at the pages. And so I knew that the problem was somewhere in my pages. I stopped querying it. I have not queried my top people for that manuscript yet. And I'm reworking the pages. And when that's done, I'll go back and I will start querying again to see, are those pages now getting a better reaction? And you want to make sure that you do it that way so that you can reserve your best query, your best pages for those agents you want the most.
100%.
So how is a query letter structured? That is, when I first researched query letters, I did not understand what people were saying. They were saying, oh, tell us about you, tell us about your book. And that was about it. And I have since learned, thanks to Kathy Vereck and some other research that I have done and talking with agents, that there is actually a pattern to it. And I highly recommend taking the Pitch Perfect Challenge because it will get more in depth into all of this section that we're about to talk about. So there are 3 parts to a query letter. The first one is your opening paragraph that gives all of the pertinent data of your book. And the second one is your blurb. We talked about blurbs in episode 5, so go back to that to really get in depth on a blurb. And then your closing paragraph is your information about who you are as an author.
When you do write your query letter, keep in mind this little number in your head, 300, okay? So you don't want your query letter to be more than 300 words, and you don't want your blurb to be more than like 150 to 180 words, because agents get many queries. Agents stand at traffic lights and they swipe through their phones while waiting for the light to turn green. So you want to catch their attention. You want to have the facts straight and upfront so that you can get that agent that you want.
And you'll come off a lot more professional. This is one of the times when I like to tell people, get into live events. Query agents live. And the reason is because you can get such great feedback and that initial reaction from an agent when you are querying them in person. And when you're live querying, sometimes they want to have like the full query and they'll give you 10 minutes or so. It takes about 2 or 3 to go through, read 200 to 300 words. So they'll give you 10 minutes. You can throw them your query pitch and move on. If they only give you 3 minutes, then you need to shorten that blurb down to 2 sentences and make sure you have the other pertinent information in the first and second paragraph all in one sentence. So you can say, this is my book that's like this. Here's what it's about, 2 sentences, and this is who I am, so that they can move it faster. So you will want to adjust a little bit to the situation you're in when you're live pitching. But even if you live pitch with a short version of your query, you want to have that full 250, 300 word query prepared and ready to hand them if they ask for more information.
So it's basically the same as when you have this whole gigantic iceberg and underneath you have all this information that nobody knows about, but you as the writer need it to be able to write that little iceberg at the top. And that is the same thing with your query letter. Like, you need to have all that background information and all that meat to be able to show the agent that you actually know your book and you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And a lot of times if an agent is not very interested in your query pitch in the live situation, they will give you feedback and they will tell you what's working, what's not working, how can you adjust this? And that is invaluable information. But on the flip side, if they liked your query and they are saying, oh, it's a good query, maybe they request pages, or maybe they say, I'm just not open to this right now, but it's really good. Good job. Then you know, I'm going to go and start querying by email. And I know that the query is working. So I can focus on making sure the pages are working. But also, when you go and do these things, these live pitches, I would highly suggest going to places like Query Tracker and looking at the questions that agents ask on their Query Tracker. This just might be the same questions they will ask you in person. Make sure you have an answer. Make sure you know what to say to them so that you can look like the most knowledgeable person of this book you're about to hand them with clear and concise answers that is just going to knock their socks off.
And side note, if you say live pitching and if you talk about attending conferences and live events, for those who cannot afford one, or for those who are living in Zimbabwe and not in America and can't attend those live conferences, there are conferences that are online that you can also participate in. So you are not left alone, or you are not left out.
Absolutely. And they are just as useful as the in-person face-to-face conferences. The most important thing though, while you are out there querying, while you are out there trying to perfect this, as Nell mentioned earlier, make sure you're still writing. Write that next book. Write what you're going to be doing. Because one of the questions agents will sometimes ask is, what else are you working on? And you need to have an answer to that question. You need to be able to say, oh, I have an idea for this book. I'm drafting such and such a book that's also a fantasy. And don't get super deep into it. Just say, I'm writing these other fantasies. I'm writing this other romance novel that's a little bit more rom-com. And keep it short, keep it like a sentence, just so that they know you are a career writer. You have more than one idea and you will want to stick with them because agents want somebody who's going to be with them for a while.
Yes, they do.
So now let's say that I am getting amazing responses, not just people saying, oh yeah, please send me pages, but what if I'm querying through some of these agents and they send me the big offer?
Well, first of all, I might probably pass out because I'm like, what? Look at me doing things. So yeah, there might be a little bit of passing out. But then what you have to do, and this is where you take out that A-list of yours, your agent A-list, your dream agents that you have, and then you contact them to be like, well, hello there. I have this novel and I have this offer of representation. Would you be interested in looking at my novel? And that is also a very exciting step for you to take. And it's a very exciting feeling just to have. But you have to be prepared.
Make sure you know who they are, you know what you're going to query to them, and know that you can take 2 weeks. If an
Yes.
agent gets on a call with you and sends you an offer, reputable, good agents will expect you to say, give me 2 weeks to look over your offer, give me a couple weeks to contact the other people with my manuscript so that they know what's going on. And they should say, not a problem. Those agents that you query in those 2 weeks, if you say, I have an offer in hand, I need to give them a response by this date, are you interested? Maybe not in those exact words, but they will know, I'm going to put this to the top of my list, read through this query, see what I think of the pages, or if I want to request pages, so that they don't miss that window that they have.
And don't be a wet fish and go to an agent and say, I have an offer of representation, when you do not, just so that they put your query on top, because not cool, my dude. Not cool. But also, agents know agents and agents talk to agents. And when you do something like that and agents learn about that, then nobody wants to touch your novel or work with you. So be smart.
And there are plenty of agents that you can go on to Twitter or to Blue Sky, and they will give you lists of things that you should not do when querying, phrases you shouldn't use. Don't be too grandiose in yourself. Don't refer to yourself as I'm the next Stephen King or something like that, because that just comes off wrong. And it'll help you to refine the wording that you use in your query. It'll help you to know how they expect a professional in the literary industry to act.
Yeah. Side note though, Sarah, I was on, what was it, Threads, or was it Twitter? I can't remember. And I saw this one agent and she posted a thing to be like, you know, she's so sad that she still gets these responses when she gives a pass to someone. And it was literally someone that was, I don't know if you read it, but it was someone who said like, you bitch, like, how dare you not like my novel? This is the best novel that's ever been written. And I'm just like, wish you. And I was just like, let's not do that either, because
Agent goes, I dodged a bullet.
right. But the fact, I'm just like, honestly, like, as I've said multiple times, not everybody's going to like your writing, which is perfectly fine.
And that's the other half of querying. It is a jungle out there when you are querying. And I say that as someone who has seen agents who look at me and go, I don't have a place on my list for you, or I don't know who I would pitch this to, and so I can't agent you. And that can be a little bit hard to swallow. But understanding that just because you get a pass letter does not mean you're not writing well. It does not mean that you're not querying the right people. You can't control those sorts of things. And so you need to know how to handle a pass letter. When I first started getting pass letters, I had a little moment to cry. Just, oh, it didn't work out again. Let myself grieve a little bit and then go again. And now I was like, oh, okay, they passed, moving on to the next person. And you have to be able to take it with grace. And if that means getting all of the negative emotions out in private or to a best friend, please do that, not to the agent. And you do not have to respond to pass letters. Their mailbox is so full. They expect that when they send you a pass, that you're going to accept it and say, okay, thank you.
Very true. But I think here's the thing. I think the most important thing about the querying process is to have fun and to learn. And that's definitely what I did with my first novel that I started querying. I learned so much from querying that novel. I learned how to query. I learned how to do an agent list. I learned how to approach querying and the querying process. And I learned how to embrace the passes, because you know what I did? I decided I'm going to have fun with my query process. And every pass that I got, I printed out and then I put it on my wall. So I had a whole query of walls. I don't know, query of wall of passes, basically, that I had. And so instead of being despondent or instead of being angry or frustrated that I didn't get that agent or I didn't get that full request, I saw it as a learning experience, but also I saw it as being proud of myself, because every time that I look at my wall, I'm like, you know what, I took that first step to actually send that query letter. I did the research to query that agent. I stepped out of my comfort zone to take something as personal as writing a novel, whether it's a nonfiction novel, a memoir, a historic fiction, whatever it is, and give it to someone else to read or to explore. And so then I'm like super proud of myself, because first I learned something, second I got out of my comfort zone, and thirdly I did something that I'm passionate about. And I think that is how we should see the querying process. We shouldn't see it as, oh, nobody will like my novel, or oh, this is so hard, or oh, why do I have to do all these steps? You should see it as, oh my goodness, like I get to be able to do all these steps. I get to be able to learn about all these authors and all these agents and all these people that I meet throughout doing live conferences and throughout reading novels to be able to comp novels, which, side note, go listen to episode 9 where we talk about comp titles. But yes, so that is how I see it, and I think that is how every author and every writer should see it, because it's such an exciting part of your life, because you are going to be doing it for the rest of your life.
You are. Even if you sell that first book, you will be querying again. If you rewatch the episode with Tracy Smith Mathis in episode 10, then you will hear that she has an agent and she has a publisher, but she's not sure her next book fits with them. So she might be back on the query trail again. And that's okay. And your agent has to query publishers, and your publishers have to query the people they sell to. And so it's all a part of the process, and understanding how it works will help you when you get that agent and when you get that publisher to understand, yeah, I just did that too. I understand how you are trying to do it and continue on the cycle, because you have to have some mode of communication with the people that you're trying to sell to. And that is what we are doing as traditional published authors. And for my indie published authors out there, I hope that you enjoyed listening to us rambling about how this side of the publishing world works. And what you can take from this as remembering that blurb is still your marketing. If you are reaching out to people, say you're reaching out to a bookstore that you want to pick up your new novel that you feel like they match. You want to have basically a type of query letter to send to them to say, hey, this is what my novels are. This is who I am. Please contact me about selling my novel in your bookstore. And any other people that you reach out to for marketing, you want to be able to use a query letter type format to say, hey, I would love to be on your podcast. Here's who I am, and here's what I do. It's all the same process for whoever you are reaching out to market your book and to get out to the public.
Yes.
Well, like a good query letter, we like to keep it short here on Tea and Tales. Get your fingers back on the keyboard and your pens back on paper.
And if you like what we do here and you love learning about the querying process and want to learn more about it, go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at Tea and Tales Podcast, and on Twitter/X and TikTok at Podcast Tea Tales, and go to that purple icon of yours and go give us 5 stars and comment and share and just enjoy what we are doing here and embrace what we are doing here and join in this community that we have created, because we are here to help you. We want to share our knowledge with you. We want to bring people on to help you on this journey of yours.
Happy writing.
Bye.